This is Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome to this week's edition of Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm JD.
And I'm Drew, and we are thrilled to be back with you talking about everything off topic.
Today we'll be talking to Dana McCauley. She's an expert on food trends, and we'll be getting in touch with which foods are becoming more prevalent in Canadian diets.
We'll be joined by Murray Sawchuk. He's a Canadian-born Vegas magician, good friend of mine, who is going to give away the secret to being a successful magician.
Ooh, and we'll discuss internships. It's a huge debate actually right now in the news lately because a lot of people feel it's not worthwhile, and we'd like to give you our 2 cents on it.
But before we delve into these topics, let's start off by recapping our week.
Yeah, a little round table action here.
What happened in your week?
Honestly, I needed this. So we've been working long hours with Property Brothers, buying and selling, and everything we've been doing on our days off. We're flying around doing lectures. I actually took a day off. I put my cell phone away, shock and awe from you guys I know, and I went to the spa.
I actually saw this in the calendar, in the company calendar. It was listed as mandatory spa day.
Yeah. And no, I honestly, I needed it, so I went. I got a massage. Hey, and all you secure men out there, you can not the one that comes with a happy ending. I don't do the Jonathan massages.
No, but, like a hot stone massage. Why is it always you think bad of me?
Well, I also no, I did. I had a hot stone massage, and then I also got a mani-pedi, and I definitely like to have my nails looking good. I got a facial. I got my hair cut.
How many times did you think about your cell phone while you were on the table being massaged?
I actually was thinking, I wanted to tweet some photos and stuff, and I just thought, I'm going to leave it.
I'll bet it was actually a hot phone massage.
Now that is something he can relate to.
Yeah, they actually massaged my hands too, which is perfect because now they're stronger. They're loose for my texting.
No, you're just going to use that excuse not to do any work with me.
It was so good though. It was so nice because we've been going literally every day for, I can't even think of the last day I had off. So I mean, Jonathan, you worked that day, so what did you do?
What happened to me this week? We have been traveling a little bit, and I've got 9 projects on the go too. So when I'm in Atlanta, I'm working on those. I had a pretty cool experience. So I was in an airport, and this mother came over, and it was kind of, they waded through the crowd. There was a bunch of people there. She came over with her little daughter, who must have only been maybe 4 years old, something like that, and said that her daughter is a huge fan of the show. And sometimes parents say this, and they're actually the fan themselves, and they're forcing their child, who has no idea who we are, to come up. This little girl was so insanely cute, and she came over. She wanted to take a picture, and so of course I'm a magician, so I thought it would be kind of cute to do a little magic trick for her. And so all I did is I took the boarding pass that I had, and I tore it in half in front of her, and then I did a little thing where magic gesture and had her blowing it there, and I repaired it back into one solid piece again. Her eyes just absolutely lit up, and she thought this was the most amazing thing in the world. It made her entire month. Her mom said, huge fan of Harry Potter and all of that stuff, and so now in the mind of this little beautiful 4-year-old girl, I am Harry Potter. So that was my week.
Well, you look like Harry Potter. You just need the
Very
glasses.
good, Mr. Potter.
Yes. And you, JD, what happened to you this week?
It was kind of like Drew had this week. It was very relaxing. I spent the week in Toronto, and I did something that I don't normally get the time to do. I was taking a course. It was a 1-week course on some industry, film and TV stuff, and it's nice to just go and sit back and listen to what other people have to say and not really have to say much myself and
Be the talker.
Yeah, not be the talker. I really enjoyed that. So, and I, of course, always love Toronto and get to see a bunch of the fans and friends there.
Yeah,
they call it the T-Dot.
The T-Dot. I spent the week in the T-Dot.
I have a few friends that I've been telling them I'll get up there soon. Don't worry, I'll be there soon. It might not be until the new year, but on social media, we actually had a lot of great responses from last week's show. A lot of people were saying they want to hear more of the Would You Rather.
Oh, yeah.
And they were also saying what some of their Would You Rather, which they would give up. Sex, cell phone, or
spouse. We had a lot of people say they would give up their spouse for a month.
Yeah.
I was asked if I would give up bacon for a month, and yeah, I could do it. I might not like it, but I could do it.
Now you'd cheat. JD would get on turkey bacon or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, does turkey bacon count?
I have a lot of bacon flavored stuff. So
what were some of the other ones? There were some really creative ones too. People were saying that they would give up their car. That what, if I didn't have to drive a car, because generally I have to be between so many sites every day. I could not take public transit in order to do that, and I have
Uber.
tools and everything. Yeah, and, well, of course, there's companies like Uber that would be great too, but they don't tend to like you having power tools in their car.
Yeah, I did see see cigarettes, which is great. And then I also saw people saying things like they give up carbohydrates. And that's where I always want to step in and say, don't do that. You want to lower your carbs. You don't need to get rid of them. Your body needs energy. But there a lot of it was health-based, I would say. But there were definitely quite a few people who said, my husband, I'll give up my husband for a month.
Yeah, that's just cruel. That's just cruel. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that we could probably do without, and especially when we've traveled a lot, we've seen how people live in third world countries, things like that, and they really don't have anything, and you still see that a lot of them, they're smiling, they're having fun with the family, they're spending time together. So I do think in this society that we take for granted all of the things that we do have. So
yeah, I don't think that really we need a lot of the things that we use on a daily basis. We just choose or like to have them.
And actually, this leads into one other question on social media here. This is actually on my Twitter. Someone was saying, I want to have a really nice place, but how do I afford the dream looks that you get on your show? Well, this is sort of, a lot of people think they need a lot of things that they don't, or they have a lot of stuff around their house that they don't need. We always tell people, look what you could sell. You can make a lot of money by selling stuff online that can go towards a renovation of a room. I mean, you can transform a room for a few $1,000s.
Or barter stuff. I have found a million times that there's something that maybe I have lying around that somebody else really wants, and we've managed to actually exchange for something that I wanted. So, yeah, there's a great way to save money, extend that dollar. So, I think we'll keep throwing it around. We'll come up with some tips, and we'll post it on the scottbrothers.com or on our social media. But after the break, we are going to talk about social media and how it's created this generation of rude individuals.
How can technology make us ruder? Isn't it just a rude person is always rude on social media or otherwise?
All right, guys, let's save the banter for after the break. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. Our first topic of discussion this week is social media. Is it making us ruder?
I don't know. I still feel that if you're rude, whether it's in social media or not. The one thing I do notice, and even with text or online, is that sometimes I get really to the point. So people might take it as me being rude. But
that's in person as well. That's not just by text.
Well, let's start with a couple of scenarios here. I'm going to gauge whether or not you guys find this rude. You do or you don't. So have you ever caught a friend or a spouse secretly texting under the table while pretending to be engaged in conversation with you?
Yes.
You.
I have. Well, I've had that happen a lot of times. And to be honest, if I'm in a big group of people, sometimes I will do it. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude. I'm trying not to be distracted by doing it out in front of everyone's face. But I've made a point of not texting. If I'm at a one-on-one dinner with somebody, I'm not texting when I'm at a one-on-one dinner.
No, I do the same thing. And it's not that I don't want to check my text or see if anyone's messaged me, but I will wait till I go to the restroom to do that.
Yeah, it's just that you're bored.
But here's the question,
right?
Do you actually go to the restroom?
Yeah, no, I wait till I have to go to the restroom.
Yeah, or do you go to the restroom to make those messages?
No, it's not that important.
I do. I will admit. I've done that.
I will flip it around, though, before you run another scenario here, is I do find it kind of annoying, though, when I'm out in a social setting, and it's not that it's an arranged meeting or like that I've invited somebody to come out. I just happen to be out, and there's a bunch of friends out, and everybody's out. I can't stand it when somebody keeps calling me out on my phone. Oh, who's more important here on this going on? This is not a date. I'm not out with you. I am just out at an event. Everyone's there, and I have business to take care of.
We do that to you all the time.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
I don't, because I find it as annoying as Jonathan finds it, because the thing for me is I want to go out. We shoot in different cities, so you don't know a lot of people in a new city, but half our crew is from out of town. So I do want to go out a little bit with them, but when we're out, I'm spending time with them, but I still have some business to do, so I try and quickly do it, something on the phone, send a message or whatnot. And yes, I hate that when people call me out.
It's emails for me, because I rarely turn on my office computer. I do all my emails from my phone. So when I'm done filming, and quite often I'll be on multiple different sites, I'll be working for 10, 12 hours. When I'm done, there's a whole day's worth of emails that I need to catch up on. So it's not that I'm texting.
Well, we've gotten a little bit sidetracked on this, but I mean, really, yeah, that can be a little bit rude when you're doing that in a one-on-one setting. But I do find that people just online in general tend to be a little bit more uncivil or obnoxious compared to what they normally do because they have a bit of anonymity.
Well, exactly, and we've talked about trolls before, but here's something. How about you're on Facebook, for example, and you come across a photo that you didn't know was taken with you in it?
You two are both guilty of that. And Drew, I even told you today, I'm like, enough already, because we're sitting, and I could sense him off to the side snapping a photo with me in the background. And it's always something like there'll be a picture of a cow on the wall, and Drew will be like, looks like Jonathan has a painting, or something like. I see those on your Instagram.
I was taking a picture of Jonathan all the time. I catch him when he's playing Words with Friends or he's Snapchatting or something. I'm like, you think he's working? He's not working.
I like getting them when they're sleeping.
No, that's what you do, JD. You post the worst photos of us from when we were teenagers. It'll be, like at our ugliest, or we're making a face, or we're doing something that is so horrible, and you'll post. I don't even know where you get.
But are you saying that's rude, or are you just saying that that's just insensitive?
I'm just saying he's a jackass.
Inappropriate.
Okay, but now how about this? So you see a picture of yourself on Facebook or on Twitter that someone posted, and it has sort of an unfriendly caption about you or about the photo. Do you find something like that offensive, or do you just brush it off?
I can't actually say that I often see that. So, but I understand what you're talking about, and I think it would be offensive for someone just to randomly put up a photo with a bad caption under it. I mean, that's not appropriate.
There is a flip to that. I always try to play devil's advocate. I try and see what the other side would think, or why people would do what they do. Yes, I do think that sometimes people can be a little unkind online, or maybe more that they're just a little insensitive. But on the flip side, I think some people are too sensitive, because I have had friends that they go on, and in fact, actually, the one stat that I read said 3 out of 5 people who use social media say that somebody is rude to them several times a month. Well, I think that sometimes it's just, people are having fun and they're posting a fun picture or a fun caption, and if you don't really understand the joke, then you're offended. But it's not that they're not saying anything rude, or they're not making fun of you.
No, but it's also in the eye of the beholder. I mean, because if by me saying something, it's in conversation as well. If I say something and you take that as me being rude, but I know myself that I was just stating something. I wasn't being rude about it. And I see that on posts online all the time. Just because you automatically take the defensive, or you automatically think they're being rude, I don't think it means the person's being rude.
But perception is reality. So I always say that if you have been perceived as rude, then perhaps you are. What I like to think of as the fact, though, among my group of friends, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I know that all of my friends would never say something intentionally to hurt my feelings, or intentionally
all 3 of them.
To be rude. All one of my friends. So, I try and do the same thing. I give them the benefit of the doubt that they would not have said or done something to offend me.
This is a very real situation, too, because I ran into this with my last relationship. We text constantly because I'm on the road a lot, flying different places, and quite often you misunderstand each other when you're in this situation and you're only texting. And we ran into that a lot. We had a lot of disagreements on things because the conversations were purely through text.
There's no intonation when you're, texting.
No, and, if one person's in a bad mood, the other person's in a good mood, they're in 2 completely different conversations.
Yeah. I hate passive-aggressive texting, though. I hate that, and that does happen where people will sometimes do that, and you can tell the tone of their text, and, I don't even get into those. So if somebody says, oh, fine, just go.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. I have no time with that, or for that sort of attitude, whether it's in person or through technology. But technology has been blamed for. There's one study that I was looking at, and it said that technology is blamed for more than 80% of the growing cause. Or how is it worded? 80% of people surveyed said that technology is the growing cause for incivility. And so I just see everything's shifting to technology, to social media, to people interacting. People don't know how to communicate in person anymore.
That is it. I feel that people have lost the art of communication. I love writing, but I also love conversing. I think I'm a good conversationalist, and I like hearing other people's opinions. So, yeah, for me, I do think that we have lost some of that art of communication, and I want to get that back.
Exactly. Well, don't forget, you guys can send us your opinions on this. Hit us up through social media. I'm at Mr. Drew Scott. We have at Mr. Silver Scott, and JD is at Mr. JD Scott, or our website, thescottbrothers.com. And we will be right back. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Thanks for tuning in to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Drew.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm JD, and we're talking about internships. Lately, there's been much discussion about paid versus unpaid internships, especially since a Toronto MP is planning on introducing a private members bill in the House of Commons that's cracking down on the issue of precarious workers, including interns.
Well, I mean, this is a very tricky thing because there are a lot of companies who are actually possibly taking advantage of interns and making them do the work of paid employees. And this actually happened. There was a large telecommunications company that was sued by a couple of interns because they were doing the work of paid employees. Well, do you think that's right?
No, I see that happen a lot in the entertainment world, too, because people really want to get involved in entertainment, so they're willing to do anything, and they are being taken advantage of. We've had a ton of people offer to intern for us to do things, but I do believe that if somebody is doing a job of value and they're actually completing some of the work that I would have been paying somebody for, then I do think that they deserve to be paid.
I understand the concept of an internship and kind of proving yourself a little bit that you are willing to do this work and that you'll be successful at it. But I think there needs to be, there's a fine line where you have to start paying someone soon after the fact.
Well, and there was a story in the news, too, that a radio practicum student in Alberta had crashed his car because he was an intern and he'd been working really, really long hours, and he was so exhausted by the time he was going home that he actually crashed his car. And so I think it is dangerous to overwork these people.
Yeah, plus there's no federal or provincial government tracking for interns. I mean, that's something, and actually in the law, there's no such thing as an unpaid internship. And I didn't even realize that. I thought that there actually was. But so what's something that you guys actually think for interns? What do you think should be in our industry? Say, for example, in a production office. What do you think is okay for interns to do, and what do you think they should just be watching?
I do think that there's value for somebody coming in to sort of audit what the job is and do something. So, like, personally for me, I feel that if somebody wants to come in and they wanted to intern, it would be a very short-term thing. I think it's just enough for somebody to come in and see whether or not they would like to do that job. Is that not what is the definition of intern? I feel like that is not what it is.
Well, I kind of feel it's a two-way street. I mean, for a company that wants to expand and look for new young recruits, they bring these hungry interns in that can really show what they're good at. And if they're great, then maybe the employee can keep them on and start paying them. On the flip side, the interns want to get more experience, so as a part of their practicum, they can get into a job, see if it's what they want to continue pursuing.
Yeah, no, totally. And like I said before, I think it's a fine line, and you can't be expecting these interns to come in and immediately be the CFO of your company. Like it has to be.
That would be a stupid company.
There's a lot of stupid companies out there, but no, they have to. I think hasn't it always been like the interns are getting coffee, the interns are running simple errands.
Well, it's to get work experience. That was the whole point of an internship, is to get work experience. But I agree. I can see the mindset of what some of these corporations are doing that are taking advantage of it. They're seeing that these people are willing to come and work, and they're willing to do anything that you throw at them. So why not have them do, this stuff? People complain about, sending jobs overseas where people are only being paid, $10 a day or $5 a day or something like that. It's happening here where people aren't getting anything. They're not being paid anything, and they're still accomplishing the same work. So
there has to be responsibility for the companies. They can't be taking advantage of this, and that is what's happening.
Well, that's why I know. I mean, we've had, like Jonathan said, we've had a lot of people approach us for internships, but we've turned people away, some people away, because it wasn't the right fit. We already had someone in that position. I don't want to just bring people in to do work for a company just to make them do work.
Well, and I don't get paid still, right?
Yeah, no. We pay you with love.
You're on the life term.
So here's a question for you two. Have either of you, I can't remember, have either of you actually done an internship before?
I was trying to think about that too, and I've definitely volunteered a lot. I know I volunteered a lot. Not like, I guess I would be interning because I have volunteered at a corporation just to sort of audit what they're doing, but it was not long term. It was very short term, like a day or a week or something like that.
I actually did, though. I mean, this is more not as a school practicum, but just for me trying to get experience. Since I was a kid, I've been an actor and I'm a director, but I didn't have the office experience as a producer, and I wanted to do more producing. So I volunteered. I interned in a production office to learn the experience, but I told them I'm a go-getter. I said I can work as hard as any kid kid just out of school, and I'll give you everything that you need. I was working long hours. I was doing 12-hour days on a production. And the next time around, after a few weeks, they hired me on as a PA, and then they hired me back again to coordinate. And after like 6 months to a year, I was actually in the office coordinating and production managing.
I have a very similar story. In my senior year of high school, I interned at a mortuary.
That's creepy. Why?
Because I requested it.
So you thought that that's something you would want to pursue, or
No,
just you're creepy?
I just thought it would be funny to go and do my internship at a mortuary.
And this is what made you into a gothy alternative youth.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think that there's definitely some situations like that for kids that are trying to get practicum, kids that are trying to get work experience. But I have seen adults who are forced into this sort of an intern position where they're going long term. They're going 6 months, 7 months.
That's not right.
No, it's not right at all. I mean, you go in there. There's one thing getting experience, and then there's one thing where you need to pay your bills. You need to be able to take care of your responsibilities.
That's just being used and abused.
Well, and this is that tough paradigm. I mean, employers are not going to hire you because you don't have the experience. But how do you get the experience without being hired?
I like how you just use the word paradigm.
Yeah.
Is that on your word of the day?
It is, yes. It was popped up on my phone. I have an app for that. But, I mean, it's true, though. I still see a lot of value in it. I think that internship is important. It helps the corporation and the individual get the experience, but you have to have the right situation.
So then how does the reporting have to happen so that it isn't taken advantage of? Is it just that people have to report? But then now what is the government going to have to monitor all of the internships in order to make sure that no one's taking advantage of them? Because that then costs millions of dollars to the taxpayer too. So, I think the big thing here is it's not something we're going to be able to resolve in one sitting, but it's definitely good that there's conversations happening about it, and I think it's really going to make corporations think twice about whether or not it's something they should do.
We want to hear from you guys. Tell us what you think. Are internships valuable for the corporation or the individual? Hit us up on our social media, or via our website, thescottbrothers.com. I'm at Mr. Drew Scott, at Mr. Silver Scott, or at Mr. JD Scott. And, of course, we're also on Facebook, too. When we come back, we're talking with food trend expert Dana McCauley. We'll get right into the foods that are trending now and heading into the cooler seasons.
That and more coming up on this week's edition of Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
This is Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Hey, we're back. It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers, and we're talking food trends. Every year there's different foods, different restaurant features, foods that people start consuming more of, and stuff that becomes popular because, cooking professionals discover new and exciting ways to manipulate them.
So to discuss the trends in food we're seeing today, the incredibly talented Dana McCauley joins us. She's the VP of Marketing at Plat Chef, an expert on Canadian food trends, one of Canada's most popular food and recipe writers, and has consulted with international food companies to help them develop new groceries.
JD, your French was really great.
You like that?
Hey, Dana, how are you?
I'm very well.
So thanks for joining us. We want to pick your brain. I mean, we all love food. I got to admit, I love to eat, but we want to see what are you seeing as some of the hottest trends right now this season?
Well, this season isn't that different from most other seasons. But, what's neat is kind of, what rises to the top. Last year, kale was kind of a big veggie. And I have to say, if I eat any more kale myself, I may just, have to run screaming from the room. And this year, one of the big veggies is cauliflower. If you've done a Google search on the internet for new recipes, you've seen cauliflower as a pizza base, as a dip base, as, roasted, as grilled, as everything. So,
what's funny to me is the restaurants keep doing this. They sort of keep revitalizing all of these different veggies that, as a kid, we all hated them. We absolutely hated broccoli. Every restaurant has broccoli right now. Yes, kale, same thing. So I wonder what is it or how is it that they've fooled us into thinking that these are delicious? They really are, because I love them. But I've even seen kids now that are more susceptible to eating these recipes.
Yeah, I think it's because our moms maybe didn't have the talent of some of these very, very
you take that back.
I think that's the difference. And, the local movement has really spurred all of this. So instead of looking for the most fabulous thing that you can fly in from Spain, chefs are saying, hey, let's look into our backyards. Let's see what we can find, and food companies too, not just chefs. And let's see what we can elevate to a gourmet level, stuff that we used to just think of as everyday. And that's what's happening.
So what you're saying is deep-fried cauliflower. That's taking it to a gourmet level, right?
It could be. It depends on how you prepare
That would be
it.
the Scottish recipe?
I was just going to say, put cheese on it, and I'm good with anything.
Yeah, the Scottish recipe would be to stuff the cauliflower with a Mars bar and then coat it in batter and fry it.
That makes me shiver.
No, it's delicious. Have you never had a deep fried Mars bar?
I'm the healthy one. Jonathan and JD, they're pretty healthy too, but myself, that just makes me cringe thinking of that.
Okay, I want to find out from anybody who has actually had a deep fried Mars bar. It is delicious. Hit us up on social media because everyone. Same thing with haggis. We're Scottish. Everyone's always so fearful of haggis. It's basically like a breakfast sausage. It's a mince, and it is not that bad. It's delicious.
I don't like haggis. I've never liked it.
Yeah, but JD is the pickiest eater. He
I am not.
You don't like eggs. You don't like.
No, I eat eggs. I don't like mushrooms.
JD says he's not growing up. He was horrible. He didn't like cooked carrots. He didn't like egg. He didn't like mushrooms. He had a whole list, but he would always say, I'm not picky. So what would you say actually in schools, Dana? You see that a lot of the schools across Canada are a lot healthier nowadays. They're really pushing forward healthier options. What do you think are some of the best meals for kids to take to school or even for cafeterias to have at school for kids?
Yeah, it's tough, the cafeteria thing and the delivered lunch thing. I know a lot of schools are trying to go healthier, but, once you get into the organic and the this and the that, next thing you know, it's $7 or $7.50 per kid for lunch, whereas a pizza lunch is like $2. So it's definitely more economical to send your child with a healthy lunch. What's really interesting to me is that it's not strange for a child to bring, vegetarian sushi anymore to school or to bring hummus or to bring...
So good.
Yeah, to bring like food that we think of as being so adult, and kids these days are really much more sophisticated. They've been going to restaurants with their parents and traveling with their parents, and they really have a much wider palate than the ham sandwich crowd I grew up with.
And I think it really does come down to the parents as well, have to help the kids be prepared, because kids are not going to put together these sophisticated meals on their own, or very few will. But I remember reading a thing that Jamie Oliver, obviously famous TV chef, really knows what he's doing. And he has this campaign where he's trying to, make everybody healthier, and especially in the school system. He went in with this whole project, descended on a school, redid the entire menu, redid the vending machines, redid everything to make it really healthy. And after everything, the school basically said, no, not interested. It's too complicated, too much work. We're not going to do it. So they went back to having the pizza and to having the chocolate bars and stuff like that, which is kind of a shame. I think that they should have both. They don't need to clear cut and get rid of everything, but they need to have options.
Well, yeah, because the problem is when you do get rid of everything, if the kids are old enough to go off site, like my son is a teenager, pathetically, his school is across the street from hospital, and pathetically, he and his friends go across to the hospital cafeteria to eat because they can get French fries there, they can get pizza there. Their school cafeteria is just terrible, and the ambiance is terrible. There's nothing to make the kids want to stay there. If they played some good music and they had a salad bar and they made it fun, it would be so much about it is the experience, and that's
it is true. And for me, that's what it is. It's all about the experience. And coming up, holidays are coming up, and of course, I usually cook the holiday meals with my mom. So, last thing we'll chat about, what's something exciting and new that we could try this holiday?
Well, what would be a really cool thing to do would be to look to doing something really local. Like instead of doing turkey, maybe do a pheasant or a couple of pheasants, depending on how many people you have there.
We have a big family.
Or a turducken.
Yeah. Or a turducken.
Or a turducken. I made a turducken last year. It was delicious and lots of fun.
Nice.
Well,
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, Dana. We really appreciate your insights here.
If you guys want to learn more about Dana and what she does, you can find her on Facebook and Twitter at Dana McCulley. That's DANAMCCAULEY. And, of course, you can always hit us up through our Twitter or Facebook. I'm Mr. Drew Scott. Jonathan is at Mr. Silver Scott, and JD is at Mr. JD Scott.
We'll be right back, and after the break, we're going to talk magic with a special guest. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You're listening to Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
We are back with Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network, and we're really excited about this segment because we're joined by Murray Sawchuk. Murray Sawchuk is an old friend of ours. He's a Canadian, but he's actually living in Vegas, performing in Vegas at the Tropicana. His show is Murray, the Celebrity Magician. Hey, Murray.
Hey, how you guys doing? You doing well?
Very well. Yes, we're excited to have you on here because we're talking about we wanted to do an entertainment segment because obviously we live in Vegas. I'm an illusionist, and we thought who better to call than the guy who not only knows everything about magic but also has all the dirt on Vegas. So thanks for joining us.
I'm thrilled to be talking to you guys. I mean, in Vegas, the greatest thing about Vegas is ever changing every day. I think that's the reason why it appeals all over the world. I mean, it doesn't matter where you go. You don't need to say what country or what state Vegas is in. It's just Las Vegas, and everyone knows. You can be in Russia, you can be in Taiwan, you can be anywhere. Everyone knows where Vegas is.
And something else everyone knows about Vegas when you bring it up is they know about Murray, because everyone knows who you are, and you're performing at the Tropicana right now.
Infamous.
Yeah, that's when you're not all over the world. I have to say, I follow you on Twitter, and I always see that you're, landing in Australia and landing in China and landing in everywhere, and I get a little jealous. But tell us, what is it like performing in Vegas versus when you're traveling all around the world? What's the biggest difference?
Well, the great thing about Vegas audiences is it's almost like being international because everyone from everywhere comes to Vegas. I mean, everybody, because it's where, it's the adult playground. So in your audience, you may have 15 people from France, 20 from China, 10 locals, 100 people from Canada, because people come here to get away for 2 or 3 days. So it is really cool where the world basically comes to play. And it's kind of a cool thing because people come here for a great time. I mean, when you go to other places or other states, you come in, you do a Friday or a Saturday show. It's their night out because they've been working a 6-day week in their little town, and you can play a casino there. But when they come to Vegas, they're on vacation, so that their mindset's there. So when they're sitting in your audience, it is a totally different audience because they're great. I think we have some of the best audiences in the world in Las Vegas because people are here for a good time.
So when you travel, though, say you're in Europe or say you're in China performing, do you actually speak like 20 different languages? Come on, Murray.
21. Actually, 21 languages.
I do know the secret to that. Murray, you told me that you know just enough to get out of trouble in pretty much every country.
Just enough to get a date or get out of trouble?
Both. Before I was married, it was to get a date. Now it's just to get out of trouble. So exactly. Yeah. So it kind of flip-flops. So.
Most of our fans know Jonathan as the Hare, but I would say Murray is the Hare.
Yeah, if nobody's seen Murray, he's got this wild hair.
Signature.
It's your signature. It's your logo and everything as well. So there's whenever I walk somewhere, like into a casino or something, and I'm looking for Murray, I always just say, have you seen any blonde, spiky hair? Because it's the first thing that people notice. I also wanted to bring up
Waldo when you're out with me.
Yeah, exactly. I also wanted to bring up America's Got Talent because obviously you were on America's Got Talent. I worked with you on that, which was kind of a cool experience because I'd never worked behind the scenes on something like that, and you killed it. I remember distinctly some of the judges saying that hands down the best magic they've ever seen when you made the tiger appear and then the girl right behind Piers with his jacket on, stuff like that.
The train car disappear. I mean, you made an entire train disappear. It's pretty impressive.
I know. I got to thank you for that because, John, I remember when I was talking about this, and this is before you guys had your HGTV show, and we were sitting around talking, and then you guys are getting ready for your TV show, and I remember I had the first trick. And you can let all your viewers know this. The first trick I did on America's Got Talent, which we shot in Dallas, Texas, me and one of my assistants flew out there, and it was your trick. I actually did on that show. I borrowed that off you. You were nice enough to let me use it for free, and that's what launched me on America's Got Talent. And after that, I know you flew to CBS, and we worked on the Tiger trick.
Well, I would say it's your talent that launched you on the show. But, I mean, that's one thing I really love about Vegas is, like you said, is known worldwide. But a lot of you guys, a lot of the magicians, the performers, the different acts, they all know each other. They all hang out. They all help each other any way they can. And I think that's amazing. A lot of people think that everyone would be fighting for the top show, but there's a lot of support in the community.
Yeah,
there is. There's a huge. What's interesting is there is and there isn't. I think I don't care in what community. It could be doctors, it could be lawyers, it could be magicians or jugglers. I think there's a certain core amount of people that really do have a lot of a lot of camaraderie between each act, but I think it also is equal to your success in the business. If you create a brand and you're successful and you're happy doing what you do, I think you're happy generally for other people. If you're still struggling, you're still trying to figure out where you're going or what you're doing, I think there's a little jealousy because I don't know if you've found your footing yet, but I think if you've been in it for a while, I think you're a lot more forgiving and you like helping out people, I think, at least what I've
Well, yeah, and you're pretty good. You're involved in a lot of charities in Vegas as well, which is great. And one thing I wanted to point out, are you aware that Brittany is coming to Vegas? She's going to be a resident performer in Vegas.
That. I hear she's coming in. She heard that I was performing. I thought, you know what? If it's good enough for Murray, I might as well come. Like, you know what the hell? We'll make room.
We'll pair you guys up. We'll put in a good word, and we'll get you guys to do a duet or a duo routine. What would you say from what you've seen over the last year? What's the weirdest? Not saying it's good, not saying it's bad, but what would you say is the oddest new act that you've seen in Vegas?
I think one of the coolest acts in Vegas or shows is Absinthe over at Caesar's Palace. And, here's what's interesting. For people that don't know what it is, it's basically Cirque on crack is what it is.
I've seen it,
You know what I'm saying? You guys have probably seen it, right? You guys have seen it.
Right? Yeah. Twice.
And to give people an idea, it's old school Europe entertainment. It's a big Spiegel tent, which is a tent with a tarp that kind of is propped up by one stick. It's like a big tent where you go camping, and that holds literally 350 people. And there's these acts that are doing acts literally 10 feet, 5 feet from your face. And it's the old school way that Europe used to do a variety. We had vaudeville theaters here in the States, but in Europe, they had these tents called Spiegel tents that would tour and travel around Europe. So indirectly, that's what it is. In Vegas, they're kind of bringing back circus to really what circus was.
And that's what I like. I like the bizarre. I like things that are a little bit different, and that's why I figured if anybody has stories, you have them. What's the weirdest thing that you've experienced since living in Vegas? Off the strip, whatever it is, but the weirdest thing.
Man, that's a hell of a good question. Some of the weirdest things I think are when people are the weirdest thing, and it's not crazy or weird what people would think in their heads at home, but one of the weirdest things that I see in Vegas is that we forget, and we forget the sense of depth perception. And what I mean by this is you'll be staying at the south end of the strip. Say it could be at Mandalay Bay, MGM Grand, or Tropicana, and literally you look out your window and you go, oh my God, there's the Mirage Hotel. It's like right there. And you're like, oh, come on, family, pack up the kids, let's take a walk. It'll be nice day. It's not that hot. It's only 110 degrees out Fahrenheit. And, we'll take a walk. It's just down there. You leave Monday morning. Wednesday, you're still walking.
I did that. I totally did that. I went shopping just off the strip. I was at the mall, and this is the first time. I was just a teenager, and I had just turned 19. At least I'm going to tell everyone here I just turned 19.
Nice.
Yeah. And
you're still underage in Vegas.
That's not old enough.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There you go.
I'm 22. Perfect.
Yeah, I looked older. But anyway, I could see the stratosphere, and we're actually going to go over the stratosphere and try and ride the rides, and we ended up walking, and then it actually got dark, and finally a cab picked us up and said, you know what, this isn't the kind of area you want to walk with a bunch of bags. Let me give you a free ride back into town.
Well, thanks for joining us, Murray. That was great. When we come back, we're going to let you in on a little secret.
Whoa, I thought we were going to keep that to ourselves, JD.
How can we keep a secret to happiness locked up? Eventually people are going to track us down. They're going to want to know all about it. So coming up, that's what we're going to talk about. Don't forget, you can always find us through social media via our website, thescottbrothers.com, or on Twitter, at Mr. Silver Scott for me, at Mr. Drew Scott for Drew, and of course, at Mr. JD Scott. We're also on Facebook. We'll be right back. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. We're just about out of time for this hour, but before we go, we want to share the secret of happiness.
This is exciting. Right here, you heard it on Off Topic. We found the secret to happiness.
Yeah, it's as easy as spending time with your friends.
It's amazing how something as simple as maintaining healthy friendships can be a huge benefit to your overall, quality of life.
Well, exactly. Now, so we were looking at a bunch of studies. Men's health and well-being. Men's well-being.
That is one way to be happier.
Well-being are greatly improved if they see their friends at least twice a week. Do you guys actually take time? I mean, we all work long hours. Do you actually take time to go out and see friends twice a week?
I'll admit I'm not as good at it as I would like to be because I'm on the road so much, and so if I do get a day off, usually I'm taken away on business or something like that. I only see my friends, my good friends, probably once a month or once every couple of months.
Jonathan, do you ditch your good friends to go out on random dates?
Those are what he's talking about, good friends.
Yeah. No, it's just
friends with benefits are the good friends.
Well, because we're working away on the road, right? So we're not in the same city as where all our friends are. I'd love to be home at Vegas, and I have lots of friends there. Or back when we were filming somewhere like Toronto, a lot of friends there that I'd like to hang out with. But so every time you go to a new city, it's like starting all over again.
I try to do this. I've always been the one who wants to get out each week to balance work with having fun. And I have found the busier that I get, though, the more that I have to sacrifice that. And I notice the difference. I can definitely notice when I need that recharge from my buddies.
I know when JD's getting ready to go see his buddies. Doesn't matter what city he's in. I mean, he has friends in different cities, because JD starts to strap on his boots and he spends an hour on his hair. He's got his shirts all pressed and he's all, done up to go, because JD usually will just wear T-shirt and jeans. That's all he wears. So
who's the best at us? Because I know, Drew, you were really good at keeping in touch with people from our past, people from high school. Honestly, I'm terrible at it. That's Facebook for me is great, because it's the sense where when I get time, I like to just throw a comment here or there, say hello, something like that. But I'm really bad, and I've always been really bad at, phoning people or at,
I thought you were mocking me. I thought you were making...
No, and Jonathan's had that New Year's resolution, I think, twice. That I remember. This year, I plan to be better about keeping in touch with friends.
And I have tried. I will, in my own defense, say that I went through Facebook. So I have 300 friends on Facebook, 350 friends on my private Facebook, and these are friends that I do try and stay in touch with. So I would systematically go through and make sure that I've reached out to that those people at least once every couple of months. But I'll end up getting to the L's. It's alphabetic. I'll get to the L's,
and then those Z's just don't get in there.
But no, what Facebook has done now is they've mixed it all up. It wasn't in alphabetical order last time I went on, so I'm sure there are people that I've missed.
Well, I just find, I'm so busy. I used to be really good, but I'm not anymore. So now, over the Christmas holiday is when I'll actually call my friends, or I'll try and send out some messages here and there. But I was actually just a few weeks back, I was in Vancouver, and it was actually awesome. I was just in for a day. I stayed an extra day because, our parents were in town and I wanted to see them, but then I went out with friends. I haven't laughed so much, and it was just over silly stuff that we used to do as we were kids, and it was fun for my girlfriend too, because she got to hang out with some of my old friends from high school.
Well, that's exactly what that study was talking about, was that it's the laughter that is the key, because you can watch a show and laugh, but it's not the same as being with your buddies and telling old stories just having that gut-wrenching laugh.
And our group of friends, our core group of friends, we find humor in every situation that we're in and anything, and we laugh hard. And my philosophy is that you should laugh hard every day. But it did say in the one study we were reading there that quite often, if it's a group of 5 or more, you don't laugh quite as hard as if it's your core group of under 5 friends.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. Some of my friends actually say that their core group of friends, it's like 20, 30 guys. I don't think that's true. I think you can have a peripheral group. You have your old high school or college buddies, but I think there are always a core 2 or 3 people that are your best friends. And it did say as well that if you spend that time with your core friends and you're feeling better, your energy is better, you're emotionally you're healthier, and it actually helps you recover from illness quicker, and it makes you a more generous person.
So this study, actually, looking at it again here, this is geared towards men. So this isn't both men and women. Do you think that the same thing applies to women?
I absolutely do. I think that, women need to have that close-knit group of friends, too, that they can talk to, especially if you're dealing with depression, work anxiety, money problems, things like that. I think that just having friends that you can talk to about it, and friends that are separate and apart from your partner.
Well, what about this? That's the biggest point there. I go out when I go out, because I work long hours, I go with my girlfriend to see my friends or to see her friends or whatever we end up doing. Do you think it's more valuable, health-wise, more valuable is a bad word, do you think it's healthier for you to get away from your significant other, to have that time with your friends, not them with your friends?
Yeah, that's a question, actually, I want to ask to the listeners. So why don't you guys hit us up on social media, at Mr. Silver Scott, or at Mr. JD Scott, or at Mr. Drew Scott, or at thescottbrothers.com, and let us know if you think that you should have that person, apart from your spouse, that you talk to about some of your problems.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. It's important that you get that time apart, I think. But we'll see what the fans have to say about that. So now that we know the secret to happiness, I think our work is done here.
Are you kidding me? There's going to be a whole bunch more problems next week that we're going to have to resolve. So why don't we just say that we're on hold until we come back next week.
We want to say thanks to our guests, Dana McCauley and Murray Sawchuk. Murray, the celebrity magician, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you guys again next week. Thanks for listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You've been listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. Want more of the Scotts? Check them out on TV. Catch the Property Brothers and Buying and Selling on W, a Corus Entertainment company.
Is social media, is it making us ruder?
I don't know. I still feel that if you're rude, whether it's in social media or not. The one thing I do notice, and even with text or online, is that sometimes I get really to the point. So people might take it as me being rude. But
that's in person as well. That's not just by text.
Well, let's start with a couple of scenarios here. I'm going to gauge whether or not you guys find this rude. You do or you don't. So have you ever caught a friend or a spouse secretly texting under the table while pretending to be engaged in conversation with you?
Yes,
you.
I have. Well, I've had that happen a lot of times. And to be honest, if I'm in a big group of people, sometimes I will do it. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude. I'm trying not to be distracted by doing it out in front of everyone's face. But I've made a point of not texting. If I'm at a one-on-one dinner with somebody, I'm not texting when I'm at a one-on-one dinner.
No, I do the same thing. And it's not that I don't want to check my text or see if anyone's messaged me, but I will wait till I go to the restroom to do that.
Yeah, it's just that you're bored.
But here's the question,
right?
Do you actually go to the restroom?
Yeah, no, I wait till I have to go to the restroom.
Yeah, or do you go to the restroom to make those messages?
No, it's not that important.
I do. I will admit. I've done that.
I will flip it around, though, before you run another scenario here, is I do find it kind of annoying, though, when I'm out in a social setting, and it's not that it's an arranged meeting or like that I've invited somebody to come out. I just happen to be out, and there's a bunch of friends out, and everybody's out. I can't stand it when somebody keeps calling me out on my phone. Oh, who's more important here on the cell? Going on. This is not a date. I'm not out with you. I am just out at an event. Everyone's there, and I have business to take care of.
We do that to you all the time.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
I don't, because I find it as annoying as Jonathan finds it, because the thing for me is I want to go out. We shoot in different cities, so you don't know a lot of people in a new city, but half our crew is from out of town. So I do want to go out a little bit with them, but when we're out, I'm spending time with them, but I still have some business to do, so I try and quickly do it, something on the phone, send a message or whatnot. And yes, I hate that when people call me out.
It's emails for me, because I rarely turn on my office computer. I do all my emails from my phone. So when I'm done filming, and quite often I'll be on multiple different sites, I'll be working for 10, 12 hours. When I'm done, there's a whole day's worth of emails that I need to catch up on. So it's not that I'm texting.
Well, we've gotten a little bit sidetracked on this, but I mean, really, yeah, that can be a little bit rude when you're doing that in a one-on-one setting. But I do find that people just online in general tend to be a little bit more uncivil or obnoxious compared to what they normally do, because they have a bit of anonymity.
Well, exactly, and we've talked about trolls before, but here's something. How about you're on Facebook, for example, and you come across a photo that you didn't know was taken with you in it?
You two are both guilty of that. And Drew, I even told you today, I'm like, enough already, because we're sitting, and I could sense him off to the side snapping a photo with me in the background. And it's always something like there'll be a picture of a cow on the wall, and Drew will be like, looks like Jonathan has a painting, or something like. I see those on your Instagram. I was
taking a picture of Jonathan all the time. I catch him when he's playing Words with Friends or he's Snapchatting or something. I'm like, you think he's working? He's not working.
I like getting them when they're sleeping.
No, that's what you do, JD. You post the worst photos of us from when we were teenagers. It'll be, like at our ugliest, or we're making a face, or we're doing something that is so horrible, and you'll post. I don't even know where you get. But
are you saying that's rude, or are you just saying that that's just insensitive?
I'm just saying he's a jackass.
Inappropriate.
Okay, but now how about this? So you see a picture of yourself on Facebook or on Twitter that someone posted, and it has sort of an unfriendly caption about you.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Thanks for tuning in to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Drew.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm JD, and we're talking about internships. Lately, there's been much discussion about paid versus unpaid internships, especially since a Toronto MP is planning on introducing a private members bill in the House of Commons that's cracking down on the issue of precarious workers, including interns.
Well, I mean, this is a very tricky thing, because there are a lot of companies who are actually possibly taking advantage of interns and making them do the work of paid employees. And this actually happened. There was a large telecommunications company that was sued by a couple of interns because they were doing the work of paid employees. Well, do you think that's right?
No, I see that happen a lot in the entertainment world, too, because people really want to get involved in entertainment, so they're willing to do anything, and they are being taken advantage of. We've had a ton of people offer to intern for us to do things, but I do believe that if somebody is doing a job of value and they're actually completing some of the work that I would have been paying somebody for, then I do think that they deserve to be paid.
I understand the concept of an internship and kind of proving yourself a little bit that you are willing to do this work and that you'll be successful at it. But I think there needs to be, there's a fine line where you have to start paying someone soon after the fact.
Well, and there was a story in the news, too, that a radio practicum student in Alberta had crashed his car because he was an intern and he'd been working really, really long hours, and he was so exhausted by the time he was going home that he actually crashed his car. And so I think it is dangerous to overwork these people.
Yeah, well, plus there's no federal or provincial government tracking for interns. I mean, that's something, and actually in the law, there's no such thing as an unpaid internship. And I didn't even realize that. I thought that there actually was. But so what's something that you guys actually think for interns? What do you think should be in our industry? Say, for example, in a production office. What do you think is okay for interns to do, and what do you think they should just be watching?
I do think that there's value for somebody coming in to sort of audit what the job is and do something. So, like, personally for me, I feel that if somebody wants to come in and they wanted to intern, it would be a very short-term thing. I think it's just enough for somebody to come in and see whether or not they would like to do that job. Is that not what is the definition of intern? I feel like that is not what it is.
Well, I kind of feel it's a two-way street. I mean, for a company that wants to expand and look for new young recruits, they bring these hungry interns in that can really show what they're good at. And if they're great, then maybe the employee can keep them on and start paying them. On the flip side, the interns want to get more experience, so as a part of their practicum, they can get into a job, see if it's what they want to continue pursuing.
Yeah, no, totally. And like I said before, I think it's a fine line. And you can't be expecting these interns to come in and immediately be the CFO of your company. Like it has to be.
That would be a stupid company.
There's a lot of stupid companies out there. But no, they have to. I think hasn't it always been like the interns are getting coffee? The interns are running simple errands.
Well, it's to get work experience. That was the whole point of an internship, is to get work experience. But I agree. I can see the mindset of what some of these corporations are doing that are taking advantage of it. They're seeing that these people are willing to come and work, and they're willing to do anything that you throw at them. So why not have them do, this stuff? People complain about, sending jobs overseas where people are only being paid, $10 a day or $5 a day or something like that. It's happening here where people aren't getting anything. They're not being paid anything, and they're still accshing the same work. So
there has to be responsibility for the companies. They can't be taking advantage of this, and that is what's in some industry, film and TV stuff. And it's nice to just go and sit back and listen to what other people have to say, and not really have to say much myself. And
be the talker.
Yeah, not be the talker. I really enjoyed that. So, and I, of course, always love Toronto, and get to see a bunch of the fans and friends there.
Yeah, they call it the T-Dot.
The T-Dot. I spent the week in the T-Dot.
I have a few friends that I've been telling them I'll get up there soon. Don't worry, I'll be there soon. It might not be until the new year, but on social media, we actually had a lot of great responses from last week's show. A lot of people were saying they want to hear more of the Would You Rather.
Oh, yeah.
And they were also saying what some of their Would You Rather, which they would give up: sex, cell phone, or
spouse. We had a lot of people say they would give up their spouse for a month.
Yeah.
I was asked if I would give up bacon for a month, and yeah, I could do it. I might not like it, but I could do it.
Now you'd cheat. JD would get on turkey bacon or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, does turkey bacon count?
I have a lot of bacon flavored stuff. So
what were some of the other ones? There were some really creative ones too. People were saying that they would give up their car. That, what, if I didn't have to drive a car, because generally I have to be between so many sites every day. I could not take public transit in order to do that, and I have tools and everything. Yeah, well, of course, there's companies like Uber that would be great too, but they don't tend to like you having power tools in their car.
Yeah, I did see cigarettes, which is great, and then I also saw people saying things like they give up carbohydrates. And that's where I always want to step in and say, don't do that. You want to lower your carbs. You don't need to get rid of them. Your body needs energy. But there a lot of it was health-based, I would say. But there were definitely quite a few people who said, my husband. I'll give up my husband for a month.
Yeah, that's just cruel. That's just cruel. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that we could probably do without, and especially when we've traveled a lot, we've seen how people live in third world countries, things like that, and they really don't have anything, and you still see that a lot of them, they're smiling, they're having fun with the family, they're spending time together. So I do think in this society that we take for granted all of the things that we do have. So
yeah, I don't think that really we need a lot of the things that we use on a daily basis. We just choose or like to have them.
And actually, this leads into one other question on social media here. This is actually on my Twitter. Someone was saying, I want to have a really nice place, but how do I afford the dream looks that you get on your show? Well, this is sort of, a lot of people think they need a lot of things that they don't, or they have a lot of stuff around their house that they don't need. We always tell people, look what you could sell. You can make a lot of money by selling stuff online that can go towards a renovation of a room. I mean, you can transform a room for a few $1,000s.
Or barter stuff. I have found a million times that there's something that maybe I have lying around that somebody else really wants, and we've managed to actually exchange for something that I wanted. So, yeah, there's a great way to save money, extend that dollar. So, I think we'll keep throwing it around. We'll come up with some tips, and we'll post it on the scottbrothers.com or on our social media. But after the break, we are going to talk about social media and how it's created this generation of rude individuals.
How can technology make us ruder? Isn't it just a rude person is always rude on social media or otherwise?
All right, guys, let's save the banter for after the break. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. Our first topic of discussion this week
This is Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome to this week's edition of Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm JD.
And I'm Drew, and we are thrilled to be back with you talking about everything off topic.
Today we'll be talking to Dana McCauley. She's an expert on food trends, and we'll be getting in touch with which foods are becoming more prevalent in Canadian diets.
We'll be joined by Murray Sawchuk. He's a Canadian-born Vegas magician, good friend of mine, who is going to give away the secret to being a successful magician.
Ooh, and we'll discuss internships. It's a huge debate actually right now in the news lately because a lot of people feel it's not worthwhile, and we'd like to give you our 2 cents on it.
But before we delve into these topics, let's start off by recapping our week.
Yeah, a little round table action here.
What happened in your week?
Honestly, I needed this. So we've been working long hours with Property Brothers, buying and selling, and everything we've been doing on our days off. We're flying around doing lectures. I actually took a day off. I put my cell phone away, shock and awe from you guys I know, and I went to the spa.
I actually saw this in the calendar, in the company calendar. It was listed as a mandatory spa day.
Yeah. And no, I honestly, I needed it, so I went. I got a massage. Hey, and all you secure men out there, you can not the one that comes with a happy ending. I don't do the Jonathan massages.
No,
but,
like a hot stone massage. Why is it always you think bad of me?
Well, I also no, actually I did. I had a hot stone massage, and then I also got a mani-pedi, and I definitely like to have my nails looking good. I got a facial. I got my hair cut.
How many times did you think about your cell phone while you were on the table being massaged?
I actually was thinking, I wanted to tweet some photos and stuff, and I just thought, I'm going to leave it.
I'll bet it was actually a hot phone massage.
Now that is something he can relate to.
Yeah, they actually massaged my hands too, which is perfect because now they're stronger. They're loose for my texting.
No, you're just going to use that excuse not to do any work with me.
It was so good though. It was so nice because we've been going literally every day for, I can't even think of the last day I had off. So I mean, Jonathan, you worked that day, so what did you do?
What happened to me this week? We have been traveling a little bit, and I've got 9 projects on the go too. So when I'm in Atlanta, I'm working on those. I had a pretty cool experience. So I was in an airport, and this mother came over, and it was kind of, they waded through the crowd. There was a bunch of people there. She came over with her little daughter, who must have only been maybe 4 years old, something like that, and said that her daughter is a huge fan of the show. And sometimes parents say this, and they're actually the fan themselves, and they're forcing their child, who has no idea who we are, to come up. This little girl was so insanely cute, and she came over, she wanted to take a picture, and so of course I'm a magician, so I thought it would be kind of cute to do a little magic trick for her. And so all I did is I took the boarding pass that I had, and I tore it in half in front of her, and then I did a little thing where I, magic gesture and had her blowing it there, and I repaired it back into one solid piece again. Her eyes just absolutely lit up, and she thought this was the most amazing thing in the world. It made her entire month. Her mom said, huge fan of Harry Potter and all of that stuff, and so now in the mind of this little beautiful 4-year-old girl, I am Harry Potter. So that was my week.
Well, you look like Harry Potter. You just need the
Very
glasses.
good, Mr. Potter.
Yes. And you, JD, what happened to you this week?
It was kind of like Drew had this week. It was very relaxing. I spent the week in Toronto, and I did something that I don't normally get the time to do. I was taking a course. It was a one-week course on...
You or about the photo. Do you find something like that offensive, or do you just brush it off?
I can't actually say that I often see that. So, but I understand what you're talking about, and I think it would be offensive for someone just to randomly put up a photo with a bad caption under it. I mean, that's not appropriate.
There is a flip to that. I always try to play devil's advocate. I try and see what the other side would think or why people would do what they do. Yes, I do think that sometimes people can be a little unkind online, or maybe more that they're just a little insensitive. But on the flip side, I think some people are too sensitive because I have had friends that they go on and in fact, actually, the one stat that I read said 3 out of 5 people who use social media say that somebody is rude to them several times a month. Well, I think that sometimes it's just, people are having fun and they're posting a fun picture or a fun caption, and if you don't really understand the joke, then you're offended. But it's not that they're not saying anything rude or they're not making fun of you.
No, but it's also in the eye of the beholder. I mean, because if by me saying something, it's in conversation as well. If I say something and you take that as me being rude, but I know myself that I was just stating something. I wasn't being rude about it. And I see that on posts online all the time. Just because you automatically take the defensive or you automatically think they're being rude, I don't think it means the person's being rude.
But perception is reality. So I always say that if you have been perceived as rude, then perhaps you are. What I like to think of as the fact, though, among my group of friends, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I know that all of my friends would never say something intentionally to hurt my feelings or intentionally to be rude. All one of my friends. So, I try and do the same thing. I give them the benefit of the doubt that they would not have said or done something to offend me.
This is a very real situation, too, because I ran into this with my last relationship. We text constantly because I'm on the road a lot, flying different places, and quite often you misunderstand each other when you're in this situation and you're only texting. And we ran into that a lot. We had a lot of disagreements on things because the conversations were purely through text.
There's no intonation when you're, texting.
No, and if one person's in a bad mood, the other person's in a good mood, they're in two completely different conversations.
Yeah. I hate passive-aggressive texting, though. I hate that, and that does happen where people will sometimes do that, and you can tell the tone of their text, and, I don't even get into those. So if somebody says, oh, fine, just go.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. All right.
I have no time with that, or for that sort of attitude, whether it's in person or through technology. But technology has been blamed for. There's one study that I was looking at, and it said that technology is blamed for more than 80% of the growing cause. Or how is it worded? 80% of people surveyed said that technology is the growing cause for incivility. And so I just see everything's shifting to technology, to social media, to people interacting. People don't know how to communicate in person anymore.
That is it. I feel that people have lost the art of communication. I love writing, but I also love conversing. I think I'm a good conversationalist, and I like hearing other people's opinions. So, yeah, for me, I do think that we have lost some of that art of communication, and I want to get that back.
Exactly. Well, don't forget, you guys can send us your opinions on this. Hit us up through social media. I'm at Mr. Drew Scott. We have at Mr. Silver Scott, and JD is at Mr. JD Scott, or our website, thescottbrothers.com. And we will be right back. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.